Ah, that's good water. Hope everyone is doing well. It's a new year. Could have fooled me. Who we got? Hello, Homebody, Ms. Wicked Wolf, Adrenaline. Oh, hey, Meg. Good to see you. Hey, Carowin, Adrian, Avaliance, which I probably butchered. Hey, Pirates, Ben. But it's good to see folks here. There we go. That feels better. Love the lace. Thank you. I like this top. I'm rather fond of it. Avouliance. 4 beats. Okay. I'll forget next time I say it out loud. I'm just warning you right now. And that's not bitterness. That's just my brain. Do I use a nail file? Rarely. Generally only if after I've clipped my nails, if I've got like a little bit that's ended up pointing in a way I didn't like. Excuse me. Hope folks are doing well. Reminder that while I will try and keep up with the chat, the only thing that guarantees that I will see and respond to your comment is the super chats, but that will also get you a heart of appreciation from me. Did I watch the ball drop? I did. Stayed up with my kiddo to watch that. I hope the new year treated everyone well. Well, I hope New Year, the event, was nice for everyone. And I hope that the new year so far has treated you as well as it can, given, the usual state of the world. Keeping up with the chat is a hard thing for me because I don't always notice it. I'll notice it, but like what'll happen for me, and it's just a very me thing, is I'll get into a topic. Maybe it's an answer to a question. Maybe it's just something that I started thinking about and decided to start talking about. I'll just ramble on a topic for like 5 minutes and realize, oh, I've missed a lot of chat activity. So that's more my issue, rather than forgetting that it's there. It's just losing track of my own mouth, I suppose. Starting classes next week. Anatomy and physiology and history of rock and roll. Yeah! Rock and roll! Wow! I don't know what that was, but enjoy it. I'm eating raspberries. I can't do the rock scream. Well, no, that's not true. I used to be able to. I'm out of practice, though, and I had to work up that. I was during the brief period when I was into the Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack. I could do it then. It's been a bit, though. History of rock and roll was honestly something I added because I needed enough credits to get financial aid. Hey, sounds like a winner to me. Also because I love rock and roll. There it is! There it is. Am I open to being sent writing, or is my schedule too busy? I can't. I'm embarrassingly far behind on getting to the stuff that I have been paid to take a look at. I absolutely do not have the time to look at people's writing just to give feedback. I don't. I don't have enough time for the stuff that I'm already supposed to be doing. I'm going to see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Yeah, I expect I will. Oh, I need to react to that new trailer. I completely forgot to do that. I gotta do that once we finish up here. My 14-year-old niece came out as non-binary transmasculine. That's wonderful. Do they still want to be referred to as a niece? Or would they now prefer a nephew? Unfortunately, I don't think I don't think there's a gender neutral term for niece or nephew, which is unfortunate. Or if there is, I don't know it. What is my opinion of My Chemical Romance as a band? I don't really have one. I don't know that much of their stuff. The few bits of their stuff I know, like, it's fine. It's enjoyable enough. That's kind of it. Interesting story. I was browsing through YouTube and found a vid talking about Castlevania Curse of Darkness, the game where Hector and Isaac came from, and I learned they did Hector bad. Really? I'm assuming when you say they did Hector bad, you mean in the Castlevania series. Oh, interesting. Favorite rock and roll artists? The Stones, Janis Joplin, Fleetwood Mac / Stevie Nicks. Solid picks. Very nice. Nibbling is the gender neutral term for niece / nephew. I think I have heard that before. It's been a while since I've heard it though. And I don't have cause to use it myself. It's one of those things that I have heard it now that you remind me, but it's never gotten reinforced because I have neither. Well, I do not have nieces, nephews, or nibblings. I did by marriage a bit back, but I'm divorced. But even if I were to refer to them as niece or nephew, they're not non-binary. So. Got a piece of hair on the back. Yeah, this one stray friggin' strand. This has been annoying me all day, actually. Not entirely sure what the hell the deal with that was. I think I was misremembering nibbling as nubbin. Nubbin! Nubbin almost feels like a cutesy term for something not safe for work. If two gender fluid people are dating, are they a gay couple or do they need to synchronize their genders at a given time? Asking for the sake of my partner and I. I would just say that you're a queer couple and leave it at that, because then you don't have to worry about splitting hairs depending on where one or the other of you is on any given day. I mean, the thing about being gender fluid, and I have made this observation in the past, because I'm gender fluid, no matter what your gender identity is, if you think I'm attractive, if you are attracted to me, you're at least a little bit gay. My favorite band is Rush, if I had to pick one. Oh, cool. Do I like classic rock? Yeah, for the most part. Favorite band is Spanish love songs. I have never heard of that. Is there a gender neutral term for girlfriend, boyfriend? Sort of. I mean, there's partner, although at least for me, I can't speak for everyone else. The thing about the term partner is, in my mind, that is a more committed relationship than just boyfriend, girlfriend. So I don't know if there's something of like comparable, like dating, but not necessarily super serious in gender neutral. I don't know. That's my headspace, though. Other people might not feel the same about partner that I do. Favorite Fleetwood Mac song? It's hard to beat Chains. That entire album, though, Rumors, is crazy good. My girlfriend started watching Castlevania for the first time. Her review of season 1 is Alucard is hot. I mean, sure, if you're into that. He doesn't really do it for me. Like, appearance-wise, he's fine. He's too stoic, I think, for my taste. Did I see the trailer for Renfield? I did. And it's the kind of trailer where I watch that. Excuse me. And I'm like, okay, either we just saw every good part of this entire movie, or this is going to be amazing. No middle ground. Nibbling makes them sound like a biter, which my niece used to be. So fair. Hey, there you go. Had to gently educate a dear friend that when someone has transitioned, you don't go back to the old pronoun dead name when talking about them before transition. She thanked me and promised to remember. And that's the best reaction that you can hope for. And that is something that, like, people who aren't used to interacting with or talking about or to trans or queer people might not get, because, like, they might intuit, okay, but I'm referring to back then. But at the same time, like, you know, it's one of those things where if you stop and think about it more, like, okay, but like if somebody got married and took on their spouse's name, you don't go out of your way to refer to them by their maiden name if you talk about before they were married. Generally, anyways. I don't know. John Vinyls. Thank you very much. If Arcane ever makes it to Broadway, you should play Jace. Oh, Jace. Oh, he's the boring one. He's the guy who's just so determined to do the right thing. Like, he's still, on the scale of characters like that, he's actually still quite interesting. But, like, in terms of something to play, sink my teeth into, oh, no, not my first pick. Give me Silco. That I could have fun with. And John Vinyl's coming in again right after. Also, whoever leaked For the Future Online needs to be spanked. I think I'm missing something there. I'm not sure what that is. Let's see. Hey, Sir Jedi Sentinel, good to see you. I'm trying to figure out where I was in the chat. Love ABBA, but I love Dancing Queen. Dancing Queen is fun. That is one of those songs that, like, I'm kind of antsy until the chorus kicks in. Do I think Yasmin Finney is upset she's in the main comparison? I have absolutely no idea, and I'm not going to speculate on someone's personal mood. I don't know enough about her to even begin to guess at that. I have not seen Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I have not had the time. ABBA and the Beatles. Are we just comparing classic rock notes? All right, that works. I technically don't have a maiden name, but I don't really use the longer name that makes up part of my legal hyphenated name. Ooh, that got complicated. Whatever happened to class? Would you open yourself to reviewing it, to re-reviewing it? Well, I'd have to review it once before I could re-review it. I just haven't got around to it. It didn't strike me as that interesting. And honestly, none of the Doctor Who spinoffs have done much for me. I don't have a lot of... This is part of why I kind of like tilt my head and like, really? That some people are like really excited at the idea of more Doctor Who spinoffs, because I didn't like any of them that much. I mean, the one that like... Like, I'm not saying any of them were bad, but like I think of, okay, so you had Sarah Jane Adventures, which was Doctor Who for an even younger age group. Fine, cool. I am A-okay with that existing. I didn't connect with it. I was too old for it, just flatly, in terms of the tone and everything it was going for. So, like, that didn't do much for me. Torchwood, God. Torchwood was a freaking mess. It was. And Children of Earth is great, but that's one series out of 4 that was genuinely good. And the rest like had moments that were good, but on the whole was like so like the enthusiasm for spinoffs in general, I'm not going to say I don't get it. I guess I get it. I get it in the sense that you obviously got more out of these things than I did, but I don't share it. Anyone like Queen? Oh, Queen's great. Love Queen. Queen's fantastic. Does anyone think of spanking as a punishment anymore? Depends if we're talking about children. Moving on. Newest Owl House episode was leaked for the future. Oh, okay. I hadn't heard about that. So that went over my head. So that's why I didn't follow that. Basically, if Hector from the Castlevania Darkness was in the show, he would have beat the crap out of Carmella if he thought for an instant she would betray Dracula. Also, he was voiced by Crispin Freeman. I know that name, but I'm drawing a blank. Director Scarlet. That's an interesting name. For the Future is the next Owl House episode. It's definitely worth a watch and has the best LGBTQIA representation I've seen on TV. So, okay, wait. Is it actually available right now, or was it just leaked? Because if I'm going to have to, like, dig through torrent sites, I'm not going to do that. Have I seen the movie Megan yet? I have not. It's not high on my priority list. I've heard good things, but it's, like, not a genre I'm super into, and I'm behind on a lot of work. Like, that's the thing. I'm not rushing out to the theater right now because I'm behind. I'm starting out this year behind. So, Whatever Happened to Class is my favorite song from Chicago. Oh, interesting. Not mine, but yeah, that one can work. Let's see. What are my thoughts on people leaking episodes of TV shows before they get a chance to air? I don't really have one. Like, I was going to say, I guess it depends on who they are, how they got it, and why they did it. But honestly, I'm never going to do the research to dig into that 99 times out of 100. My general reaction is just, okay. Like, I don't care enough about corporate interests to be offended by it. Like, I can be disappointed on behalf of the creators of a thing, but like ultimately, you know, the air date and the rest of it that's a corporate level decision. So I am if the creators are frustrated by it, I feel sorry for them. That's about all I've got. One of my friends changed his name to his husband's when they got married. Makes me think a woman's surname at birth is her maiden name. So what do you call it for a man? His princely name? Not sure. John Vinyl's coming back in. Much appreciated for all the support. If there was ever a stage version of Dead End Paranormal Park, Centaur World, Wendell and Wild, Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beast, Hilda, and or the Owl House, who would you most love to play in those musicals? Boy, you went big. Okay. Dead End Paranormal Park. Actually, it's a side character, but I don't think I'm a fit for most of the main cast on that. But I think I could have fun playing Harmony, who is one of the villains from season 1. Centaur World. Okay, setting aside like the impossibility of this, because like Centaur World is not stageable, but like Becky Apples. Give me Becky. She's the best. Wendell and Wild I haven't seen. Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts. I could have a lot of fun playing Scarlemagne. Hilda. Oh, the Woodsman. Oh, it'd be so much fun. Owl House. I think Hootie. I have too much fun just voicing Hootie. Okay, Luz, it's time for you to go to school and fill your head with... delicious knowledge. I like Torchwood, but I prefer Who Captain Jack to Torchwood Captain Jack. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. That's not the only thing I don't like about Torchwood, but that is part of it. They need to get Big Finish writers in for spinoffs. People say that. I don't think I agree. I don't ever want to see them drain the Big Finish talent pool to fill the show. Like, it's a different medium. They're doing different things. Let them do their thing. Leave it alone. Like, if any of them like want to put their hand up and go, "Hey, I'll do it if you want me," sure, give them a shot, but 255 AD. Thank you for the super chat. Should you apologize for using a trans person's dead name before they came out? I've seen a few people do that, but wouldn't anything else be disrespecting the identity they had at the time? All right, I'm gonna see if I can follow this question. So unless I'm misunderstanding the first part of your question, if they were using a person's dead name before that trans person came out, I don't know necessarily what there would be to apologize for because you didn't know. I mean, that's not to say that there's anything wrong with saying, "Oh, sorry, that, that wasn't who you were." But I mean, depending on the trans person and their own nature, they might not have known either for a while. As long as you're using the correct name from the point at which you find out what that is, if on a personal level it like feels necessary to go, "I'm sorry, I used to call you something out," I mean, I guess there's nothing wrong with saying that. I guess the question on its premise doesn't make sense to me because like they wouldn't have known anything other than a person's dead name before that person came out to them. So what are you apologizing for? I guess it's like apologizing for the "I'm sorry that you were in the closet. I'm sorry you went through that," but like funneling it through the idea of "I'm sorry I used your dead name." I don't know. I'm kind of lost in this question. Since we're already talking rock bands, thoughts on the Kinks? I don't know too much of their stuff. Excuse me. Who isn't behind this year? Yeah, well. Fat bottom girls, you make the rock and roll go round. That's a classic. Who is a character that you initially hated but found yourself liking, loving by the end? Well, Donna Noble's the big one. I did not like her at all in Runaway Bride. At all. And oddly, I'm warming up to Franklin on Babylon 5, and he was in the hole real bad for a bit there. But Donna's pretty much the big one. Must be late. Have you seen the Quantum Mania trailer? I haven't. I need to do a reaction after we finish up here. Also, if you want to know what Isaac in Curse of Darkness Just look him up, draw your own conclusion. All right. I'll try and remember to do that later. Anne Rice's Mayfair, which is on AMC Plus, was interesting. Oh, is that started? I think I'd heard that was going to be a thing. Crace was a character I didn't really like in the beginning, but by the end of Farscape, he was my favorite. Well, yes, but he's like... I'm not sure that quite works, or at least the way that I think of that question. I think that's kind of against the spirit of the question, because in my mind, Crace was not a character you're supposed to like. He was the main villain initially. You're not supposed to like him. Whereas, like, I think about characters like Franklin on Babylon 5 or Donna Noble, and I don't think you were intended to dislike them, but I did for a bit. Have I seen Andor? Not only have I seen Andor, I did like a 30-minute video talking about how awesome it is. Can I ask why you don't like the visual style and comedy of anime? You can ask. I don't have a firm answer for you. It just doesn't resonate with me. It's one of the hard things, especially trying to dissect comedy. Like, because sometimes you can pull apart, like, okay, well, you failed in the delivery of that joke. Like, here's why the joke fell apart, because you didn't set it up right, or the punchline was wrong, or the cadence of the delivery was wrong. Like, sometimes comedy falls down on the technicals, and sometimes you just go, I don't think that's funny. And how do you explain it beyond that? I don't think it's funny. And a lot of the visual comedies in anime, they yank me out of it. I think is the big thing. They do that thing where they'll stop dead and the animation goes super simplified and super exaggerated faces and, like, you know, the sweat drop or the tear streams or whatever. Like, it pulls me out of the story is what it does. It feels like, because it's a borderline fourth wall break. And not all stories work with that. At least I don't feel. Seeing as it was written by Terry Jones, can you do Jareth's big monologue, but in the voice of Brian's mom? All right, hold on. Sarah, beware. I have been generous up until now. Everything I've done is generous. You asked the baby be taken, I took him. You cowered before me, I was frightening. I've reordered time, I've turned the world upside down, and I've done it all for you. I am exhausted from living up to your expectations of me. Isn't that generous? Put that on the list of things I didn't think I'd be doing with my evening. Oh, boy. I find it interesting that Chibnall wrote my least favorite Cyberman story, Cyberwoman, and my favorite Cyberman story, Haunting of Villa Diodati. Oh, that is interesting. Let's see. That is honestly one of the things I'm excited about for the new era. Scott Hancock, a Big Finish writer, primarily the producer of the War Master series, is the script editor. Ooh, I didn't know that. That is interesting, actually. Ooh. John Vinyl's back again. Thank you, my friend. Would love to hear what your favorite roles you've ever played in theater and what are your all-time favorite theater productions which you've starred. It's the same answer for both. The part that I was so proud of my work in and I really felt like, oh, God, yes, about, and I also think was the best play I was in, was A Few Good Men. And I played the Lieutenant Junior Grade Daniel Kaffee, which, if you've seen the movie, is Tom Cruise's part. He talks a lot. He has over 500 lines in that play. I had a lot to memorize, but it was really good, and I was really and that's the only time I've gotten the lead. I've never had the lead in a full play before. I don't even think I've had a lead in one act before. I've always had supporting roles. I've had character parts, which I enjoy doing. Don't get me wrong, but that was so rewarding. I think the second, not too far behind that, is, confusingly, in terms of remembering the titles, 12 Angry Men, in which I played juror number 7 in that one. That was also a good show, and I was proud of what I did there. What's your favorite character in a sorry, let me try this again. Has your favorite character in a show ever been someone who was only in it for an episode? The Captain was that for me in Castlevania. The Captain is great. That I can't think of an instance off the top of my head. That might have happened at some point. That's a good example, though. I like it. I like it. My favorite Babylon 5 character is Ivanova. Londo's a close second. Solid picks. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up. I'm behind on the chat, like I'm behind on everything else. Okay, so this is sort of circling back to the question I think I didn't understand about dead naming. No, I'm just saying that I've seen some progressive video people say, "I'm sorry I called you a man and used your dead name before you came out," and I'm like, no, that was right. Okay, so, all right, there's some context there you didn't give me, because if you're talking about people in videos, what I would assume there is what they are apologizing for is the fact that a video exists online in which this person is referred to by their dead name and wrong pronouns. So, like, at least that would be my read on somebody putting out a video to that effect. So my read on that would not be apologizing for having said it wrong at the time, because, like I said, no, they wouldn't have known at the time, but they might be apologizing for the existence of a video that may well still be up. That would be my read on that. Is the new Cameron Avatar on your watch list? Is that geeky enough? I do actually want to try and get to it before it leaves theaters, because, like, if I'm going to watch it, I feel like I kind of owe the movie to watch it in a theater. That's kind of how it's meant to be seen, and to the extent that I liked the first one, it was the immersion of the experience. Excuse me, of the experience. But it's a 3-hour damn movie. Have you seen any vids by the channel's history buffs? And if not, he does vids talking about historically based movies and how they adapt real world history. Example, Tombstone or Zulu. I have not watched that, and I suspect it's a topic I'd probably get bored with. Just because, like, unless I had a specific... it would be something I got bored with if I watched a lot of. Maybe if I went through it and looked for specific movies that I was curious about the real history on, maybe. But it's not something I could just visit as a general topic a lot. How much to do a burlesque act as Brian's mom? I'd have to find a show where it would fit the theming of what was going on for that to even be an option. And theoretically, the venue would pay me. So... where are we? How do I clarify who a trans person is without dead naming them? Well, So this is one of those things where I feel like there is going to be some differences depending on the specific nature of the person you're talking to and how respectful they will be. So what I mean by that is there are some times that, frankly, the easiest way for you to talk about a trans person to someone who does not yet know that that person has transitioned is to go, okay, you knew them as bit, they're now bit. And if the person you're talking with is someone who is going to respect the new name, new pronouns, and everything, I don't think it's inherently harmful to say that once, just so that they're up to speed. Where you need to be careful is if they're the kind of person who's going to use, well, you said it, why can't I say it? Or anything like that. And if it's anything like that, or if there's someone who you think might jump down your throat for having brought up a dead name, even though they didn't know prior to that point, then finding some thing to it. So, like, random example, Elliot Page. If you know that this person knows some of his earlier work, you can go, Elliot Page, he starred in Juno. That was before he transitioned, but that's who I'm talking about. If you can find a point of reference that you know for certain they'll get, go with that. But again, like I said, I don't think it's the end of the world to say the dead name once. If it's someone you can trust to not use that as an excuse to be a dick, just to smooth out things. Also, ideally not in the earshot of others, because then people hearing you use someone's dead name with no context as to why you're doing it, that can cause an issue. Like, it's just, it's a whole thing. I always got supporting roles in theatrical productions myself. Yeah. I don't mind it. I had a lot of great roles. Was A Few Good Men the one with Ryan and Paul? It was, Carowin. That is indeed the one that was. They were all really good to work with. That was a lot of fun. Let's see. Do you like the song How Will I Know by Whitney Houston? Don't even know that one off the top of my head, so I'm going to go with Indifferent. I'm also an actor. I played the lead twice. Once I played Orlando in As You Like It. That's a good show. And one says, Pseudolist and A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. That's a good one. I was in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum in high school. And I cannot remember the character's name anymore, but I played the old man. The one who's walking around the 7 hills of Rome. And, it being a farce, I had to do the old man voice. And so all my lines were like this. Yeah, that was exhausting. Oh, Bookworm, I had been talking about A Few Good Men before I brought up 12 Angry Men. And actually, my friends Ryan and Paul were involved in both. Because 12 Angry Men, Paul directed, Ryan was in, as was I. A Few Good Men, my kiddo's mother directed, and I was in, and both Ryan and my friends Ryan and Paul acted in that. So, like, I kind of mentioned at the time, it's confusing because the names are similar. A Few Good Men, 12 Angry Men. Too many men. Ain't that the state of the world? Whew. Oh dear. Someone's going to clip that. A close friend of mine transitioned to a woman. Haven't seen them in a long time. And every time I see their mother, he keeps telling me their child transitioned and their name. I think she thinks I have a poor memory. Well, either that or she has a poor memory and she keeps forgetting she's told you. Any suggestions for cozy sci-fi beside the Wayfarer series? I don't know. Depends on what you find. Like, I personally find the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy pretty cozy. They're a little dark at times. Erroneous. Thank you, Nura. That was the character's name. It's been a god. That was what? That was senior year high school? That was over 22 years ago. It's easy for me to forget because we didn't have the 20th anniversary. Because what would have been my 20th high school reunion was 2020. I wonder what went wrong. Oh, Rowan, don't tag me and tell me what's going to be in a trailer I haven't seen yet. Don't do that. Come on. Oh, see you, Ben. Glad you stopped in. Did you hear the good news? The Doctor reverse regenerated and the 10th Doctor is back. Generation Productions, I'm assuming you're new here. I have multiple videos talking about the fact that happened. So yeah, I'm aware. I'm talking about a YouTuber, so I don't know anything about the people I'm correcting, and it's inherently public. Whoo! Okay. So I'm assuming you're talking about correcting in the comment section. Okay, well, in that case, I personally, from my view, and understand I do not speak for all trans people, from my view, that would be okay because the dead name was not introduced by you. It was introduced by the person in the video. And if they appear to not be aware, referencing the dead name that they used incorrectly and saying what they should have been using instead does seem like the best and clearest way to communicate that. So from where I sit, I wouldn't think that you did anything wrong by mentioning it in that context, again, once. But that's me. Am I familiar with the YouTuber Mr. TARDIS? Yep, I'm familiar. Okay, now I want to make a play or a movie called Too Many Men. See, now I've just got in my head the thing from, what was it? Adult Swim. Too many cooks. Too many men. Too many men. I rewatched Power of the Doctor and I noticed that Ace was flirting with Graham. I did not catch that the first time viewing. Was she? I'm afraid to check that now. John Vinyls. Thank you once again. I suggested Jace for you because I'd prefer Silco to be played by an albino person. Is Silco albino? Because he still has dark hair, doesn't he? And I'm not saying that trying to be like, oh, technically or whatever. But no, he's still got dark hair. I don't think he is albino. Sorry. Give me a second here. Come on. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so it looks like at one point in an earlier design, he was going to be white-haired, which would have probably indicated albino, or at least made it a strong possibility, but they ultimately didn't go with that. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with him being played by an albino at all, but you threw me off with that one. Victor being played by an actual disabled person, I agree. Disabled trans man. Is Victor trans? Did I miss that? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What? Hold on now. Sorry, give me a second. All right, it looks like okay, so it looks like Victor as a trans man is a popular headcanon, which I'm not going to contradict. Totally down for that. But he is absolutely disabled regardless. So at the very least, a disabled actor should be playing Victor. Yeah, anyways. I got hung up on that, but you got to watch me Google things. Ain't that exciting? All right. First thing I watched on my Paramount Plus account was Rugrats. Interesting pick. Venga Boys are back in town. Thank you for the super chat. Remember you're a Wumble. Okay. I'll try to do that. Who are some of those character actors you always pop for when they show up in something? That's a difficult question to answer outside of the context of them showing up, because kind of the nature of a lot of character actors is you don't always think about them until they show up. Then you're like, ooh, that one. And so trying to be like, oh, wait, let me think. I, at least with my brain, draws a blank. I was also tempted to cast you as the Collector in the Owl House musical and as Durpleton or Stabby in the stage version of Centaur World. See, Stabby needs to be reserved for my kiddo, because that's her favorite character. She adores Stabby. High voltage. Let's see. Am I the only one who thinks RTD plays it too safe with all the Doctor's costumes? Like 14's costume seems more like something a hipster would wear. I'm assuming you mean 15, because officially Tennant coming back is 14. I need to kind of see it in action, and there were details about it that I'd missed from the production images that came out, like the fact that there's like a sash on it to tie it, which makes the coat look like a borderline bathrobe, which is interesting. I'm not I'm not going to ask on here, but if you stream on your Vera Wild channel, is that the place to ask about not safe for work questions or questions related to the topics of that channel? I don't really stream on that channel. All right, here's what I'll say to that, Jamie. You can ask them here. You may get a slightly softened answer, but I'm okay for you to ask. I might say I'm not comfortable answering that, but I'm not going to be offended if you ask them here. Because like I said, I don't remember the last time I streamed on that channel. I'm kind of wondering specifically if I should do a stream on that channel and have it be AMA NSFW. I don't know. I think on that. I watch Adult Swim. I used to. I don't anymore. You know what would make a good biopic aside from Steve Irwin? Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol, I think, has a few of those. Okay, freshly baked brownies, Beckon, bio. Okay, Meg, thank you so much for stopping in. Victor from Umbrella Academy. No, Jamie, we were talking about Arcane. Yeah, I have my own theory about 14/10th return and 15/14th Doctor. Did not want to talk about how 13th regenerated into 14/10th is the close. Like, I'm still curious to see if we're going to see an explanation for that, given that the meta explanation was kind of limp. I meant the 15th Doctor. By the way, numbering is off. I figured that's probably what you meant. I did figure that out. Let's see here. Bernard Cribbins was the narrator for Wombles, so there's the Who connection. Ah, gotcha. Romana regenerated her clothes. So questions is, as a Time Lord gets more powerful, they can regenerate their clothes along with their body. We don't know if she did, though. Like, those were gags that could have involved time jumps and given her time to change an outfit as well. So we don't know that for certain. Discord, yes, I need to check the Discord channel. Reminder, you do also get to ask me questions on there. It is guaranteed that I will address them here. Holy crap, we got a lot. Okay, I'm gonna try and burn through these quick. Have you listened to the Old Gods of Appalachia? I have not. I realize this is speculation, but why does the new boss at Warner's want to set fire to things like Looney Tunes and other cartoons when these are clear winners over the long term? Because he's not thinking long term, he's thinking short term. He's looking at a balance sheet and going, where are some expenses that aren't generating a ton of revenue in and of themselves right now? Cool, cut them. Without thinking of the benefit of access to a full library, of people just seeing more value, of there being more stuff available, even if some of it is less watched. He's not taking a larger holistic view. He's taking an incredibly narrow, incredibly short-sighted view, and he's a dickhead. Do you like having, I mean, like, in terms of how he's doing his job. I don't know how he is personally. Might be a perfectly nice guy. I don't expect so, but, you know, it's possible. Do you like having a small but dedicated fan base, or would you be happier if you could grow your audience more? That is tough. Like, I love my fan base. I adore my fan base. But, like, if only for the sake of my ego, I would like, here's the thing. It's not that I have to hit a certain number. It's not like, I have no value until I hit 100,000 subscribers. It's not that. But it is kind of a case of seeing your growth completely plateau, which I've done several times, and it looks like it's about to happen again. That's disheartening, because I don't mind slow growth. Flat growth takes the wind out of your sails a little bit. So I don't need to hit a certain number, but feeling like nothing is moving forward, that can throw me off a bit. All right, what have we got next? Have you read or listened to Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman? It's my current obsession, and I feel like we have enough in common. You would love it too. I have not, and I feel like I might have heard of it, but I don't really know anything about it. I can't think of any more questions right now. Want you to know you are one of my favorite human beings. Consuming your content brings me great joy. Aw, thank you. Why did you change the intro to the Babylon 5 podcast? As I thought the point was that the unfamiliar one of you did the opening, which, and then it's the next question. So it got updated because, well, first of all, we were into a new year, and the old intro said the year is 2022, and it wasn't anymore. And we made the decision to model the new intro after the season 3 opening of the show, and that does feature a different character giving it. And also, I'll point out with the Farscape one, Jesse did it initially. I actually took over for the intro, the back half of that, again to coincide with a difference when the opening title changed for the show itself. So, like, we've done this before. Which Doctor would be most likely to have a piercing? Why and where? Well, I mean, the 13th Doctor did have a piercing. She had an ear piercing. But other than that, why is this in my head? For some reason, I want to say Six would have his nipples pierced. I don't know why I can't back that up, but that's what's stuck in my head, so I went with it. Ever heard of the Silver John stories? They're pretty much rural paranormal stories following a World War II veteran named John who plays a guitar with silver strings and encounters creatures and entities from the Cthulhu mythos, as well as things like giants and witches in the Appalachian Mountains. I have not. Seems like there's a decent amount of stuff set in Appalachia, which is a decent setting. But no, I've not heard of those. With witches, werewolves, and vampires being so mainstream to base series around with secret societies and such, have you ever wondered why more people don't use knights in a modern setting to similar effect? I feel that's an untapped setup for anyone to try and play with, but I've yet to see it done. I think part of the problem is like knights feel a little too mundane, and you'd have to explain, you'd have to come up with a reason why they are still behaving as knights. Like, the organizations that knights kind of represented, representation of power, be it, the more mercenary type or the protecting of state power, like, we have equivalents to that. So, like, you'd have to give it a more fantastical bent, like actually saying like the Knights of the Round Table are still around, which unfortunately Sony did do when they did the Order 1886, and it was shit, though not because of the story idea. Have you read any of Savage Avengers? It features Conan the Barbarian being in the modern Marvel universe, with him treating the modern world like some big epic fantasy quest. Okay. It's not really fish out of water story, so much as Conan actually refusing to acknowledge too much of the modern world and doing what he does best, quests, meads, and maidens. That's the setup I actually like, where the fantasy characters plopped in a modern setting, and they really just go about their usual style, just in a new setting. Might be simple, but it always makes me smile. I actually love that as an idea, because depending on the nature of the hero, and especially with somebody like Conan, who's like his entire deal is just wandering from place to place and dealing with whatever the world throws at him. Yeah, why would being in our world be any different from his normal MO? It's like, oh, okay, this is how this place works. All right, I'm gonna do my thing. I kind of love it, at least in principle. Would you prefer it if Rose's character in the 60th is written to have a trans woman background, to mirror that of the woman who plays her, or if she's treated exactly the same as if she were, as if a cis woman was cast? I don't have any inherent hopes one way or the other. I am very curious to see what will happen. I don't inherently think one is better than the other, and so I'm not going in with a preference. Why do you think it is that when Evan Peters played Jeffrey Dahmer on Netflix series, people found it to be insensitive, but when David Tennant played Dennis Nilsson in a similar British show, it was met with critical acclaim? Is it just because serial killers are more of a touchy subject in the US, or do you think there's more to it? I think there was a difference of scope and scale. Most people outside the UK didn't know about Tennant playing that part. Whereas the Jeffrey Dahmer thing was, it was in Netflix. It was a much bigger thing. Basically, it was big enough that more people noticed it. So more people who were going to take offense to it were able to do so. That's part of it. One could probably also make arguments about how it handled its material. I don't know a ton. I didn't look a ton into it, but I know that in the case of Dahmer, there were specifically some surviving family members of the victims who had issue with the way that it was handled. So that can add a lot of fuel to the fire. Whereas if that wasn't the case with David Tennant playing Dennis Nilsson, then there's obviously a big discrepancy there as well. What would your thoughts be if the BBC recast Jack Harkness following all the John Barrowman controversy? Just let the character go. Just make a new character. Like, I like Jack Harkness, I do, but he's not the end-all be-all, and a huge part of what was enjoyable about him was the fun that Barrowman brought. Trying to bring in somebody else to recreate it is gonna feel like a second-rate fill-in. Just let the character be retired. Do something else. Is it nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them? My answer to that, my friend, is to die, to sleep no more. And by a sleep say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep perchance to dream. For in that dream of death, for in that sleep of death, what dreams may come must give us pause. I almost had it! Damn it! If you talk about how you play the Doctor, who would you choose as your companion? Feel free to choose a specific actor or character idea, whatever is easier for you to think of. I think, like, honestly, somebody like Evelyn Smythe would be great. If you know Big Finish at all. So somebody basically who is, in terms of the physical presentation of the character, who seems older and is not taking any of the Doctor's crap. That would be it. Any recommendations for obscure but awful TV shows or movies? Not really. I don't indulge a lot in awful TV and movies if I can help it. And most things that I've seen that are awful, I wouldn't recommend in good conscience. So, have you seen Black Adam? Is it in your commission list? I have not, and it is not. I know I've seen at least blue and purple. What colors have you tried out in your hair so far? I had a sort of a pinkish violet when I very first did it, and kind of a turquoise. That was a while back when I first got it dyed. Have you tried Ramoon, the soda with a marble in it? I have never heard of it. So no. We're almost done with the Discord questions, I promise. Remember I told you Lily Simpson made a 10-hour video ripping Harry Potter apart? A number of other leftists, the most prominent of which being Sean, have also made videos taking the series to task. Do you think part of the motivation behind vids like this is progressives wanting to be able to tell themselves that Harry Potter was always terrible, actually, because believing that makes it easier to turn your back on something that meant a lot to many of us? I think that's part of it. I think another thing, another reason for it is, I think a lot of leftists have frustration with people who otherwise agree with with leftist political views, but are still partaking of Harry Potter, and who obviously have chosen to either disregard or have decided that whatever damage J.K. Rowling has done, that their love of that series matters more to them than what is happening. And that, I think for some of these people, they're trying to go at the heart of, it's not even a good thing to begin with, because there's clearly, evidently, a ton of people, even some who probably hold a lot of the values of leftists, who are saying, please stop buying anything that J.K. Rowling is associated with, who are still doing that. And I think there's a hope on the part of some of these folks to say, look, it's not even that good. Not necessarily because that in and of itself will convince people, but because it becomes a matter of going, look, it's not just that she's terrible. The books aren't even that good. Have you really thought about the problems with them? Is this the property you want to die on a hill over? I think it's an attempt to come at the issue from a second front. I don't personally find it very helpful, especially because it kind of feeds into the idea that bad people make bad art, and the flip side of that is good art is made by good people, and I have no use for those concepts because neither of those have ever been true as inherent facts. So, and also part of the thing is, like, part of my thing has been, while I personally have frustration with people who continue to buy things like Hogwarts Legacy, God fucking damn it, I still personally do not begrudge people who still hold a love for the stories, the books, the movies. And I don't want to tell them that what they love is crap. I don't want to do that. Because as long as they're not putting money to her stuff anymore, they just want to enjoy the things they already have, I don't really want to take that from them. I have less issue overall when marginalized people are pointing out the ways in which the Harry Potter series has done their particular group wrong. So, like, I'd be absolutely up for, say, a fat advocate talking about the fat phobia, or anyone of Jewish descent talking about the anti-Semitism, or any person of color wants to talk about the parallels between the house elves and real world slavery and how messed up that makes everything. And that's not to say that no one else has a valid opinion, but for me personally, I find more merit in that than just leftists going, books bad, actually. You know? I feel like that's too broad to be helpful anyways. I don't know. That's just me. People disagree. So I don't think it's been spelled out in any of the books I've made you read, but it's part of the culture lore that minds are incapable of not acting altruistically towards biological life forms. You're right, it has not come up. So I did not know that. That does make some sense though, especially given that some of them seem to hold a fair amount of contempt for biological life, yet they take acts to protect it anyway. Somehow the founders of the culture figured out how to program the human bias for valuing life into the progenitor minds, and it never went away. Like in the entire series, you never encounter a mind that doesn't care about humans. All their internal disputes are about how to help us. How do you feel about that as a sci-fi concept? My sapient AIs would never do a Skynet because they're incapable of hating humans. I'm actually very on board with that, if only because Skynet is freaking boring at this point. There are way more interesting avenues to examine than, oh my gosh, the AI decided humans should die. Like, we've done it. It's been done. Stop it. Stop. Do something more interesting. And this is. Like, I've enjoyed the culture books. I've enjoyed the minds a fair bit. And what you just laid out, like, that's a much better idea. A lot more story possibilities than that. Do you think Avatar would be closer to real-world colonialism if instead of their world having stuff we actually need, we were just taking Na'vi land to get some tribal luxury like tobacco or chocolate? I listened to a podcast about that film today, presumably put out because of the sequel, and I think that's my main issue with it. The film's universe humans need unobtainium to survive. I still can't believe he frickin' called it unobtainium. My God. Like, I kind of like the first Avatar. There's a lot of problems with it, but I kind of like that movie, but I still can't believe he wrote in a script and an actor said and editors put together film where they say unobtainium. Dear God. Whereas real colonialism happened because we were annoyed brown people who wouldn't sell us certain stuff as cheap as we'd like. Whether or not that's an issue, I think depends on whether or not you are prepared to accept the movie on its own terms, or if you want to kind of get into an issue of what you feel like it should have been tackling. And what I mean by that is, I think that a lot of the colonial and white savior aspects of Avatar, which are very much there, are not what Cameron was actively trying to do. I think he knew the story he wanted to tell about this world, about these people, and I think he landed on the story he did because it just facilitated him showing us so much of this world. Like, okay, well, we need it to be explained to someone, so we need a newcomer. Okay, and we're going to need an antagonistic force. Well, it'll be this. I feel like the story that came out was not out of a desire on Cameron's part to tell a colonial or anti-colonial story, but rather just to come up with something that would let him dwell in that world for 3 hours and now for another 3. And with that in mind, the unobtainium becomes a matter to kind of take the curse off it a little bit so that it's not a one-to-one parallel. Because if it is a one-to-one parallel, then the movie kind of owes the subject better consideration than it gives it. Like, it's not like it ever sides with the colonizing forces. It doesn't. But it deals with the entire issue in a very offhanded, shallow way. And I think if it were strictly about that in a more one-to-one fashion, that would be a bigger problem than the degree to which it currently exists, where, at least to me, it feels more like an offshoot of not thinking through the implications of what he was doing, which is not okay. But I think it's the difference between accidentally stumbling into problematic story elements and placing them there deliberately and then failing to do anything with them, if that makes sense. Views on the news that Wizards/Hasbro new open gaming license. I had wondered if anyone was going to ask this, and actually, technically, I shouldn't be answering this because it was put in after the stream started. I'm going to touch on it real quick. We're running late, and I apologize, but it's fucked. If people don't know, Wizards of the Coast, now owned by Hasbro, which owns Dungeons and Dragons, that brand and that system, they are changing their opening license agreement, which basically what they're doing, the short, dirty,
lacking nuance version is that they are claiming ownership of any original story told using their product. So all the D&D streams, all of those things, they're claiming ownership of that unless you negotiate a specific licensing agreement with them. So this is not unheard of. Well, I'll backtrack. I think it's unheard of in tabletop gaming. It's not unheard of in general. Nintendo did their version of this a while back when they said that they would do DMCA takedowns of any Let's Plays of any of their video games unless the person had signed up for a program with Nintendo that gave Nintendo a cut. Similarly, Blizzard, when they did their update, their reforging of Warcraft 3, they updated the user agreement so that anything created using the assets of their map editor or anything like that, they owned. And the reason they did that was because MOBAs were created with their engine and they never owned a piece of that. And every time this has happened, it has bit them in the ass. And it's going to bite Wizards of the Coast in the ass. And one of two things is going to happen. Either the outcry is going to be so huge that they realize that if they stick to their guns on this, that so many people will abandon the system for something else that it will not only permanently, completely screw their community and people will just be bitterly leaving. Either it'll do that or just like they just won't have the customer base they used to. And if they realize that before they fully pull the trigger on it, that means that they'll back off. Or they'll plow ahead and they'll just eat that loss. And it will be a loss. It's going to be a big loss. Like the D&D stream that I'm on, right now we're talking behind the scenes about switching the system. We're level 11 characters. We've been doing the story for over a year. And we're talking about continuing the same story, but changing the system. Because that's how messed up this is. So, yeah. Yeah, whole thing's a mess. All right. I got some more super chats to do, and then I'm probably going to wrap it up because there were a lot of questions in the Discord tonight. A lot. All right. Dharma, thank you very much for re-upping your membership. Much love to the council and Senpai. Thank you very much. Supreme Omega, thank you. Happy 2023. In contrast to the New 52, Post-Crisis seemed more of a success in spite of some continuity issues. Is it because they planned it better? No, they didn't plan it well at all. No. Post-Crisis was a mess. There are multiple writers who have gone on record since then, like, we did not know what was canon for about a year. We didn't know what we could use. And then we would get an editorial mandate saying, hey, what are you doing? Or like, you didn't tell us what we could do. So no, it was not well planned. I think the big difference was that it was something that at least a chunk of the fans had been asking for. I think that the story used to kick it off was better received. So I think that helped. And I think that the choices made in Post-Crisis felt a lot more like, let's take things in a bold new direction than let's flatten everything and make it all seem the same and do 50 freaking Batman books. Like, there's so much about the two that isn't comparable. That just, New 52 is just crap. It just is. Supreme Omega, back again. On 90s Spidey, thoughts on Venom and Carnage. I enjoyed them at the time. Both were overused severely. Venom especially, they really milked him to death. I did enjoy them at the time, though. I won't lie. You know, back when I was 12. John Vinyls, back again. Regarding artists, people still do love Roald Dahl's work, even though he was a massively racist anti-Semite. That is true. He's also dead. So he can't do any more harm. And that's not to say that, like, the degree to which those ideas are infused in his books isn't harmless. It still might be if you are not prepared to talk through and acknowledge those problems. But, like, dude can't do any more damage than he's already done. So it's not really equivocal if you're going to compare that to, you know, Harry Potter stuff. That having been said, I get unnerved lately how quickly people are jumping to the idea of you can't separate the artist from the art unless the artist is dead. First of all, I would argue even then, you still really can't and fully shouldn't. But I'm seeing that become a go-to point, and it makes me uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm just going to say that and put it on the record. Like, to a degree that, like, somebody actually very flatly, in a response to a tweet I did once, implied that somebody should unalive J.K. Rowling. Yeah. Maybe having seen that happen in a reply to my tweet is why I'm uncomfortable with how frequently I'm seeing that. I don't know. Okay. Gonna try and wrap this up. What are your thoughts on liking older problematic works? I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with liking it as long as you're not defending it. I mean, because like, as long as you know what the problems are and you're not pushing it on anyone else and you're not encouraging other people to ignore the problematic elements, I don't think that there's an inherent problem with liking that stuff. There's problematic stuff I like. Some of my favorite stuff is problematic. But if you're willing to just grapple with the things wrong with it and not deny them, not pretend they aren't there, and not argue with people who say, yeah, but this about it, and just go, no, I know, but, you know, it means a lot to me. Like, I can respect that. Let's see. Do I have high cheekbones? I have no idea. I don't know what qualifies as high cheekbones. Also, the biggest competitor to D&D, Pathfinder, was created with the OGL. Yeah, that's kind of my point. This is going to damage the competition in the tabletop RPG space, plus the businesses that exist making third-party content for D&D. Well, anything like Pathfinder, once, if Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast go through this change, there's going to be some massive court battles. Because, you know some of the stuff that has been done, officially licensed through D&D? Like Lord of the Rings has a D&D extension. Is Wizards of the Coast going to try and claim Lord of the Rings now? Like, probably not. But, like, there's going to be lawsuits. There's going to be big lawsuits if this goes through. Okay. I see somebody's gotten into a discussion about wokeness. I don't have the spoons. I'm skipping it. Warhol was mentioned earlier. David Bowie plays Andy Warhol in the biopic of Jean-Michel Basquiat. And just to add, Who reference in Derek Jacobi plays Francis Bacon in a biopic. Okay. Do I have a nickname for my fan base? I don't. I should by now. I've been doing this long enough, but no, I don't. Imagine if J.K. Rowling wrote an episode of Doctor Who. She got enough. She and frickin' Harry Potter got enough references in that show. It's bad enough as is. Supreme Omega. Okay, we gotta wrap it up. Supreme Omega also on the New 52. Do you think another issue with it is that Jim Lee hired his buddies at Marvel like Rob Liefeld because New 52 feels ultra 90s Marvel image? I mean, it didn't help. I mean, and that was part of what New 52 did. It didn't just end existing stories. It scrapped the creative team. Jim Lee like redesigned all the characters himself, so there was a uniformity. I think they were thinking, well, it's better continuity. It's visually coherent. Yeah, it's boring. Because they're all designed by the same freaking guy. Yeah, no. That like the New 52 was just crap. It was just crap. Yeah, I know, like, my closeout, like, you are the council, and you are, but, like, I think the question was a bit more, like, because, it's usually more in the openings, because you have folks like, Dominic Nobles, like, hello, my beautiful watchers, or what have you. I don't have something along that lines, because I guess if I were just open by saying greetings to the council, I suppose I could. I guess it's just as well I don't have a name. I don't have any kind of cutesy name for my fan base, because I think it would feel awkward to open with. I already feel awkward enough coming up with my random nonsense gags. Anyways, I need to stop. It's 8:20. We've gone long. All right. Council's in session. I used to say that. Melting Penguins like 10 years ago. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your super chats. And thank you for your patience. So, tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be on Twitch, probably finishing up Lost Ruins. I expect I'm probably going to hit the end of that game. Also, tomorrow on the main channel will be the latest episode of Take Two Doctor Who Review, and that will be on Praxius. And then Friday again on Twitch, I will be streaming, and on Saturday on the main channel, I will be talking about... it's hard to explain what I'll be talking about. I'll be doing a bit of introspection. How about that? Let's go with that for now. I'll tease you with that. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. Have a wonderful night, and have a good new year. And please remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, you are loved, you are the council. I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!